Once upon a time, in a distant era shrouded in the mists of history, there resided a legendary blacksmith in a quaint village. This remarkable artisan was the proud proprietor of a modest store where he displayed and sold his exquisite hand-forged ironware. One fateful day, destiny conspired to smile upon him as he clinched a momentous contract, a contract that would change the course of his life. In the midst of an unrelenting war that cast its shadow over the land, the blacksmith was presented with an extraordinary opportunity. He was bestowed the honor of crafting weapons for the kingdom of Cairo, a task that would not only bolster his reputation but also elevate his social standing. The intricately wrought blades and armor he meticulously created found their way to the hands of warriors, further fueling the flames of the relentless conflict. Following the cessation of hostilities, the blacksmith's dedication and contributions to the war effort did not go unnoticed. In recognition of his invaluable service to the kingdom, he was graced with a peerage, ascending to the position of a baron. This newfound nobility also came with the bestowing of land, a sprawling estate that would become a legacy for generations to come. Among those who would inherit his name was his son, a young man named Roman. The scene transitions to a more recent period in time, where we find Roman engaged in an unexpected pursuit, listening intently to the tales of an elderly. This deviation from Roman's usual comportment astonishes his loyal butler, a man who has long been acquainted with the young nobleman's disinterest in the world's affairs. Yet the narrative shifts once more to a crucial moment in Roman's life. Roman, in a moment of epiphany, discovers his true identity as the eldest son of the illustrious Dimitri family. Furthermore, he comes to terms with the fact that he resides in the kingdom of Cairo, located within the enigmatic Salamander continent. This revelation is accompanied by the unsettling realization that a realm known as Marin, a world Roman was familiar with, no longer exists. To his butler's amazement, Roman acknowledges these newfound truths, eliciting a suspicion that perhaps the young nobleman has turned to illicit substances, a popular vice among the privileged youth. As the revelation unfolds, the butler informs Roman about a significant event scheduled for the day, the arrival of his betrothed, a lady from the esteemed Lawrence family. In contrast to Roman's more accomplished siblings, he has spent the last quarter-century sequestered within the confines of his room, earning him the unenviable moniker of the moron of Dimitri. However, Roman's priorities seem to diverge from the social expectations associated with his noble lineage. To Roman, understanding the intricacies of navigating the current world takes precedence over formalities. This declaration leaves his butler bewildered, prompting him to question why Roman, who has lived within these environs for the entirety of his life, would entertain such notions. Undeterred by the enigma surrounding Roman's sudden change of heart, the butler remains steadfast in his duty to serve the young nobleman. Then we come to the present, where Roman is talking with the old man, and the old man have told Roman everything he knows. Roman thanks the old man and tells him that it was huge help, and he will reward him later for this. Old man tells Roman it's nothing, as it was an honor for him to even talk to Roman. Roman's introspective journey began as he grappled with his identity, questioning the very essence of his existence. Originally known as Bak John Hyek, a resident of Mirin, he had led a tumultuous life filled with challenges. After fulfilling every life's mandate, he had embraced his inevitable demise. However, his existence took a sudden and bewildering twist, thrusting him into the unfamiliar persona of Roman Dimitri. Roman, now lost in the labyrinth of his thoughts, pondered whether this transformation was orchestrated by the divine, or if it was a form of divine punishment for rejecting ascension. Amid this existential contemplation, the tranquility of the moment was shattered by distant shouts that emanated from outside the walls of Roman's residence. Rushing to investigate, he discovered a scene that sent a chill down his spine. A red-haired man, a humble fruit vendor, was being mercilessly assaulted by 3 aggressors as a horrified crowd watched helplessly. The savagery of the attack was appalling, with the perpetrators showing no mercy. As panic rippled through the bystanders, in this dire moment, Roman's loyal butler, ever vigilant, stepped forward to assess the situation. His eyes widened in disbelief as he noticed a distinctive fang-shaped tattoo on the assailant's arm. Roman couldn't stand by idly. He stepped forward and inquired about the unfolding chaos. The butler informed Roman that these attackers were known as the Bloodfangs, a notorious usury group whose nefarious operations extended beyond the confines of the Dimitri territory. It appeared that the red-haired vendor had fallen victim to their ruthless extortion practices. As Roman's curiosity grew, he suddenly vanished from the butler's side, heading towards the assailants with an air of determination. He implored them to cease their brutality. The Bloodfangs, however, dismissed Roman's plea with contempt, asserting that nobility held no sway over their actions. The butler, concerned for his master's safety, admonished Roman not to meddle with these dangerous individuals. Roman, unwilling to let injustice prevail, turned to his butler, Hans, seeking a comprehensive explanation of the land's legal system and the consequences for those who transgressed it. Hans was taken aback by the request, as it was unconventional for someone of Roman status to engage in such matters. The revelation that the red-haired vendor had incurred a debt and was subjected to the Bloodfang's illicit enforcement left Roman with a sense of urgency. Moreover, Roman's status as the eldest son of the Dimitri family added a layer of complexity to the situation. Disrespect towards him constituted a grave offense, one that could potentially warrant capital punishment in accordance with the region's legal framework. The Bloodfangs, upon hearing this, exchanged uneasy glances as Roman declared their violation of the law. Roman's eyes flashed with determination as he grabbed a wooden stick, vowing to administer justice. The Bloodfangs, unimpressed and unyielding, prepared to confront Roman. They scoffed at his threats and reminded him of the tattoos that adorned their arms. Roman, unruffled, clarified that their ink symbols only served to brand them as lowlifes. The altercation escalated as Roman charged at the assailants, ready to take them to task. Roman's swift movements caught the Bloodfangs off guard. He deftly evaded their blows and with astonishing precision incapacitated the attackers with his makeshift weapon. Other Bloodfangs members attack Roman together, and one of them uses a dagger and tries to cut Roman, but Roman easily dodges one attack and takes the guy down easily. Hans, witnessing this unexpected display of prowess, was left astounded that Roman was indeed his master. In the midst of this chaos, Roman's thoughts drifted back to the moment he awoke in this unfamiliar body. Among the artifacts, a will penned by the old Roman and a scattered array of drugs on the floor formed the mosaic of his recent history. The document speaks of the kingdom of Kiro, frequently embroiled in war, and the practice of selecting representatives from each household to serve the kingdom. Roman Dimitri had been chosen as his family's representative to join the army, a responsibility he found too daunting to bear. In fear, he took his own life. The new Roman regards this previous life as a lamentable existence. Nevertheless, he has inherited the legacy of Baek Jong-hyuk, the leader of the heavenly demon sect, and vows to live according to this new persona's principles. The narrative concludes with a scene of Roman, having dispensed justice to the assailants, standing alone amid the aftermath, his garments stained with their blood. As one of the Bloodfangs attempts to flee, Roman swiftly apprehends and dispatches him, casting a challenge to any who might oppose his judgment. The onlookers are left in stunned silence, their perceptions of the young nobleman forever altered by his unexpected display of valor. Baek Jong-hyuk, once a name that reverberated throughout the world of Murim, had ascended to the pinnacle of power with unmatched martial prowess. Countless martial artists had dared to challenge him, only to meet a grim fate, massacred and obliterated without mercy. It was a time when the entire world acknowledged the dominance of the heavenly demon sect, a martial organization under Baek Jong-hyuk's control, which held sway over the entire Murim realm. However, circumstances had taken an unexpected turn. Baek Jong-hyuk, who had once wielded overwhelming power, now found himself confined within a fragile and feeble physical vessel. In his current state, he struggled even to subdue a mere group of street-level ruffians. This stark contrast between his former might and present frailty weighed heavily on his shoulders. Frustration etched on his face, Roman, the name by which he now went, summoned his loyal butler and instructed him to alert the guards. Roman demanded an investigation into the recent skirmish, emphasizing the urgency of the matter. The butler, visibly shaken, nodded in compliance and hastened to carry out his master's orders. While the wheels of justice were set in motion, Roman pondered the limitations of his current body. He lamented its lack of vitality and the erratic flow of ki, of vital energy in the world of Murim. With determination etched in his gaze, he resolved to expedite his quest for knowledge, and more crucially, the elusive process of skeletal modification, a pathway to greater power. As Roman contemplated his future, a red-haired man approached him, gratitude shining in his eyes. He expressed his heartfelt thanks to Roman for saving his life, to which Roman responded with uncharacteristic candor. He clarified that his intervention was not driven by benevolence, but rather a strict adherence to the rule of law. The Bloodfangs, the group Roman had confronted, had transgressed the boundaries of legality, and he had meted out punishment accordingly. Roman further informed the red-haired man that he was not exempt from scrutiny, urging him to provide a truthful account of the events that had transpired. The red-haired man, whose name was Kevin, agreed to share his story. He revealed that his parents had borrowed money from the Bloodfangs to acquire land for farming, with the intention of repaying the debt through the sale of their crops. However, the Bloodfangs had resorted to a malicious act of destroying their entire harvest, rendering it impossible for the family to meet their financial obligations. Kevin had since learned that this vile act was motivated by the syndicate's sinister intent to prey upon his younger sister. He emphasized the injustice of their situation, as his family had always lived modestly and refrained from causing harm to others. Kevin implored Roman to help rescue his sister from the clutches of the Bloodfangs. In that moment, as Roman gazed into Kevin's eyes, he sensed the presence of a latent demon, a memory from his past. The recollection stirred within him, and he asked for Kevin's name, curious to know more about the man before him. Kevin, his voice tinged with gratitude and vulnerability, introduced himself, initiating a connection that would likely have far-reaching consequences. Roman assured Kevin that he would verify the veracity of his account and ensure that justice prevailed. Grateful for Roman's intervention, Kevin expressed his heartfelt thanks. As Roman left the scene, he couldn't help but feel that this chance encounter with Kevin might lead to a long and meaningful relationship. The narrative transitions to a different setting, where a luxurious carriage advances along a well-trodden path. Inside the carriage, Lady Flora, the passenger, contemplates her recent turn of fate. Just a month ago, she had received the shocking news of an arranged marriage with the Dimitri family. Her father, bearing a grave countenance, had delivered the decree, explaining that their family's land faced imminent disaster, and this union was the sole avenue to navigate the impending crisis. Flora, initially taken aback by the suddenness of the arrangement, voiced her concerns about becoming a member of the Dimitri family. She expressed her dismay, citing the Dimitri's mining background as a stark contrast to her own upbringing. Her father, weighed down by the circumstances, offered his apologies, acknowledging the arduous decision he had been compelled to make. Now in the present moment, Lady Flora has arrived at the Dimitri territory, expecting to wed the second son of the family, who had shown promise and a bright future. However, her expectations crumble as she learns of an unforeseen twist. The eldest son of the Dimitri family, Roman Dimitri, asserts his claim to her hand in marriage. Roman, commonly known as the moron of the Dimitri family, is notorious for living a life of indulgence and luxury. As Flora walks alongside him, she resolves to confront him about the situation, determined to voice her refusal. Turning to face him, she implores Roman to reconsider the marriage. In response, Roman surprises her by stating that he has no qualms about canceling the engagement, an unexpected acquiescence. Stunned by this turn of events, Flora inquires about Roman's reasons. In a nonchalant manner, Roman confirms his readiness to annul the engagement. He clarifies that, as the purported moron of the Dimitri family, he possesses neither the ambition nor the desire to enter into a marriage with her. His disinterest leaves Flora bewildered, unable to comprehend the true motives behind Roman's actions. Prompted by Flora's persistence, Roman decides to inform his father of their mutual decision. Flora is shocked, and she tells him to stop. Roman asks her, "Is there any problem?" Flora tells Roman that she heard that this marriage happened because he really wanted to marry her, and now he is willing to cancel their marriage without any conditions, so she is a bit confused. Roman asks her does she wants to marry him then. She tells him no, not really. Roman tells her then let's not cause each other any more problem. So now we both agree to cancel the marriage, and that's all there is to it. And Roman tells her that he will take full responsibility for breaking the engagement. Flora is surprised hearing this. Roman tells her that he has already called the moron of the Dimitris, so it's not a big problem to also be called a divorced man. Flora is shocked to hear this and doesn't get what Roman deal is, and she wonders if he is really that rumored moron Dimitri's elder son. As he enters his father's office and delivers the news of the broken engagement, his father's reaction is far from what Roman had anticipated. Faced with a surge of anger, Roman's father chastises him for jeopardizing an arrangement that held the potential to elevate the Dimitri family's standing as nobility. His father underscores the importance of the marriage and expresses his disappointment in Roman's inability to fulfill even this simple duty as the eldest son. Roman, unflinchingly resolute, tenders his apologies, but his father's fury shows no signs of abating. In a fit of rage, he hurls a cup in Roman's direction, the vessel narrowly missing its target, but drawing blood on his forehead. His father's reprimands continue, stressing that this marriage was intended to secure a better future for their family. In an act of genuine contrition, Roman beseeches his father for forgiveness, acknowledging the gravity of his actions. However, his father's response is unwavering. He reminds Roman that the engagement had offered an opportunity for Roman to marry a noblewoman of his choosing and thus fulfill his familial obligations. Instead, Roman's defiance has jeopardized his own future. Moreover, his father reveals knowledge of Roman's recent altercation with the Bloodfangs, an encounter that had reportedly ended in Roman's favor. Yet Roman's father dismisses the veracity of these claims, suspecting that someone else had intervened on his behalf. He underscores the magnitude of the problem, emphasizing that the Bloodfangs are a formidable group that even he, as the patriarch of the Dimitri family, cannot easily contend with. In a final admonition, Roman's father informs him that he will be conscripted for military service in 6 months. He turns to Roman, inquiring whether he has any response to these circumstances. Roman, unwavering and resolute, quietly conveys his acceptance of the impending conscription, offering no objections. With Roman's departure from his father's office, Flora rushes to confront him. Anxious about the consequences of his actions, she admonishes him for provoking the Bloodfangs, a group notorious for their audacity in terrorizing even nobles. She urges Roman to confess the truth to his father and seek clemency from the Baron, fearing the retaliatory wrath of the syndicate. Roman, however, counters her pleas with a question. Why should he heed her advice? This unexpected response leaves Flora stunned and bewildered, as she grapples with the enigmatic character of the man before her. In the hours preceding the critical encounter between Roman and Lady Flora, the Dimitri estate buzzed with preparations. Roman found himself in the midst of a wardrobe adjustment, as his devoted butler, Hans, applied an excessive amount of perfume. Roman's discomfort was palpable as he lamented the tightness of his attire. However, Hans's insistence on perfection remained unwavering, as he emphasized the significance of this meeting with his fiancée, Lady Flora Lawrence. Roman's mind raced with thoughts of the ever-increasing complexity of his life in this world. This arranged marriage, an unexpected intrusion, appeared to be nothing more than an additional burden. Nevertheless, he recognized the imprudence of showing disrespect to a woman who had yet to bring any trouble into his life. Hans's gentle but unwavering insistence eventually led Roman to comply. Roman conceded that there was no reason to be disrespectful toward a woman who had not caused him any harm. After all, his primary goal was to terminate this engagement while causing minimal offense. This had been his initial plan. As the narrative transitions to the present, Roman finds himself engaged in confrontation with Lady Flora, a confrontation that reveals her perceived arrogance. Shocked by Roman's directness, Lady Flora listens as he explains his perspective. He conveys his understanding of her position, acknowledging that she might not have considered the full extent of his circumstances when he initially suggested breaking off the engagement. However, he highlights that she has no right to interfere with the decision he has now taken. Both of them are to part ways, tending to their own affairs. Flora is left speechless by the abruptness of this separation. Roman, on the other hand, reflects on his earlier declaration to take full responsibility for ending the engagement. He intended this assurance to preempt any subsequent discussions or complications related to the dissolution of their arrangement. Yet he also held a desire to distance himself from her. Roman believed that this would mark their final encounter, as he departed, leaving her to contemplate the turn of events. In a different setting, the narrative shifts to the palace. Romero Dimitri, the lord of the household, indulges in excess alcohol, an attempt to drown his worries. His wife observes his inebriation with concern and implores him to halt. In his inebriated state, Romero confides in his wife, recounting the physical discipline he had inflicted upon Roman during their earlier years as commoners. Romero divulges that, after becoming nobles, he had vowed to shield his children from the hardships they had endured. His wife acknowledges that this promise had successfully shaped their children's lives, including Roman. Yet he remains uncertain about how to treat Roman, the only child who had experienced those early struggles with him. His wife reassures him not to bear the weight of self-blame too heavily. While recognizing his imperfections as a parent, she emphasizes that they alone have the power to guide their children away from any misguided paths. She reminds him of the Romano Dimitri she knows, a father who would not allow his own son to stray into undesirable territory. The conversation then turns to the issue of the Bloodfangs, an organization Roman had recently confronted. Given Roman's prideful nature and his impulsive declaration that he would handle the Bloodfangs single-handedly, his mother voices concern about the consequences of leaving him without support. She suggests that they involve Captain Jonathan, a skilled figure who might be able to aid Roman in addressing the issue. Convinced by his wife's wisdom, Romero promptly instructs a servant to summon Captain Jonathan. Considering Roman's well-being as a priority and the uncertainty surrounding his recent actions against the Bloodfangs, the narrative then returns to the present, with Roman strolling through the town. Hans, his loyal butler, expresses concern for Roman's safety, advising him against venturing outside. The looming threat of a potential Bloodfang retaliation prompts Hans to urge Roman's return to the safety of the palace. Roman questions Hans about when the Bloodfangs had accumulated their newfound strength, to which Hans can only offer uncertainty. Roman contemplates the peculiar dynamics of the Bloodfangs, an organization that gained notoriety by brutally eliminating their adversaries, particularly those engaged in reprehensible deeds. Their reputation had bred fear, which in turn enhanced their operational efficiency. Roman acknowledges the enduring danger posed by the Bloodfangs, but emphasizes that as long as they inspire fear, they remain manageable. Undeterred, Roman and Hans enter a restaurant, where they place an order for a substantial meal. Hans is visibly delighted at the prospect of indulging in the delectable spread. After making himself comfortable, Roman informs Hans that he can remain and enjoy the meal, as he intends to continue his investigation alone. This revelation momentarily surprises Hans, who had expected to accompany Roman. In a twist of events, Hans stops Roman, expressing his unwillingness to let his young master go into potential danger unaccompanied. This unexpected display of loyalty and resolve takes Roman by surprise, and he commends Hans for his unwavering dedication. Roman offers his parting words, and as he leaves the restaurant, Hans remains behind, having already made the decision to contact the soldiers and inform them of the situation. Roman, meanwhile, strolls through the streets with a deliberate intent to draw the Bloodfangs toward him. Roman's calculated strategy aims to lead the Bloodfangs to him. He knows that they have likely discerned his presence and location. Additionally, the day corresponds with the regular training of the Dimitri Knights, resulting in decreased street security. This presents an opportune moment for the Bloodfangs to exact their revenge. As Roman ventures through the town, deliberately leaving a trail to be followed, he finds himself suddenly ambushed by an assailant armed with a dagger. The attacker charges at him with full force, attempting to catch Roman off guard. Then the scene shifts to soldiers where their captain, Jonathan, meet with Roman's butler, and he told him that they have to go and find Roman immediately, as he has gone alone to fight with the Bloodfang. Then the scene shifts back to Roman, where his reflexes and combat skills come to the fore, allowing him to effortlessly block the assault and disarm his opponent. He quickly incapacitates the would-be assailant. The attacker's companions, shocked by Roman's prowess and their shattered preconceptions of him, stand in bewildered disbelief. Roman, exuding an air of confidence and authority, encourages them to engage further. The stage is set for a confrontation that will reveal Roman's true capabilities to his adversaries.